My dudes, it should come as no surprise to you that, like any other important YouTube intellectual and just a great thinker in general, periodically the spirit of melancholy visits me, a kind of sense of moping around and just feeling a little self-pity and a different kind of strange emotions kind of settle over me, and I am consumed by them. Well, such an occasion happened this past Wednesday. You see, on Tuesday, I think, I released my latest video where I was offering constructive criticism of incel message boards. And then when Wednesday came about, Wednesday is my day off, so I wanted to be productive. I wanted to gather some materials, and then just launched into the next video that very same day. Unfortunately, what happened instead is that I really, I was reading the comments section into the incel video, and I saw a lot of guys, a lot of subscribers there taking pity on the incels, or showing them empathy. And for some reason I just started getting into it. I was just starting rebuking this. I really kind of got into it in the comments section, and as I started doing so and restating my animosity toward the incels, I started getting more and more unhinged. I started writing bigger and bigger treatises there that I have then started to delete. Because it was, and then I would delete one and I would fucking start writing another. So that's one dimension of what was going on. The other dimension is that I got into this kind of a shit kind of YouTuber neurosis, where I started rechecking my numbers, my analytics from hour to hour, seeing how many views I got, and I got just fucking progressively more discouraged by what I saw. Because, well, it's just I've been in this game for some time, and anyway, how am I supposed to milk anybody on Patreon with these numbers? Well, I just kind of came in contact with a couple of channels that really have exploded recently, and yet they have been started around the same time my channel was. Like that kind of, have you checked out that Fritz 3 Arrows? It's just a very kind of deconstructs the alt-right and shit. A very good channel, very quality channel. It motherfucker, it angers me. It angers me, that channel. And I got so mopey that I literally, somebody who's like very good at wasting time, I really outdone myself that day, because that's all I did for the whole stupid fucking day. I was like keeping up with the incel discussion, and myself kind of growing more and more incel in relation to other YouTubers who actually have viewers. And in this atmosphere, I didn't make any fucking video. I didn't fucking do shit. I didn't do shit except refresh my analytics more or less the whole fucking day. It was fucking insane. And toward the end of the day, I was just feeling dispirited. I didn't know where I'm gonna target my next kind of arrow. I guess I don't fucking have 3 arrows, dude. It's that motherfucker who has the 3 arrow. I just have the 1 fucking arrow. And I wanted to see where I can target it, man. And I didn't see a target. I even wanted to write something on my stupid Facebook page, who nobody reads, asking for suggestions. But then I thought to myself, I wonder what that Canadian hoe bag Lauren Southern is up to. My dude, imagine my surprise when it turns out that Lauren Southern and some other bitch named Pettibone or some shit, that they're actually in my hometown of Moscow. And they're there to just explore Russia, I guess, and just kind of fulfill every stupid ethnic stereotype. But aside from that, they have their eyes on the prize, my man. They really have a stud, a Russian stud that they're really kind of hot and bothered by. And his name is...
We were walking for like 4 hours this morning. And then we had a 2-hour conversation in front of hot lights, and there's nowhere I'd rather be than having a 2-hour conversation with Aleksandr Dugin, but I'm so exhausted.
Traditional conservatives, they defend the yesterday in front of today, and that is not enough today.
Motherfucker, Lauren has been so exhausted being in Russia, Slav, squatting, pretending to drink vodka, throwing shit around in some decrepit place. She was just so exhausted by it, by the bright lights, but no light, you know, shone, I guess. No light fucking was brighter, okay, than the intellectual light of Aleksandr Dugin. Man, oh man, is fucking Lauren Southern fucking wet for Aleksandr Dugin.
Even if you hate Dugin, you disagree with everything he says, which I don't think everything he says is... I have a lot of questions about the things he says, but the way he says them, it just opens so many new doors in your mind that you're like, wow, I never considered that. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, definitely.
And when I saw this combination, it was just something out of a parallel reality. Because I actually know who Dugin is, I mean, not personally, but it just was weird to see him pontificating in front of fucking Lauren Southern. I mean, it shouldn't be that weird because they're both on the right and we live in a globalized world, but it was just fucking amazing to see. And when I saw it, I thought, this is going to be fucking amazing. This is going to be so fucking goofy and amazing, because there's going to be Lauren Southern with her kind of ditzy questions, and there's going to be Aleksandr Dugin, also known as Aleksandr Dugin, and they're gonna just, she's just gonna like ask those ditzy questions, and Dugin is gonna say some insane shit in his kind of heavily accented English, and man, I'm gonna be as wet for this situation as Lauren Southern is for the sweet Russian kind of neck beard. You don't even see the fucking neck with Dugin, motherfucker. He's just the beard, dude. He's just a fucking powerful volcanic beard of controversy. Well, not quite. Turns out that this whole impression was wrong. That didn't fucking happen. And forgive me for the sexist metaphor, but here it goes, okay? Just don't forgive me, I don't give a shit. This is how it's almost like Aleksandr Dugin is just this old kind of philosopher, right? Like an old kind of academic, and he's like dying of cancer or some shit. And his friends like pulled their money together and hired 2 high-priced escorts to visit him. That's kind of like, and when they come to Dugin, to dying Dugin, he's just kind of, he's so shy, like a shy kind of almost schoolboy, and he just tells them like his philosophy of life instead of fucking them. Because he's just, and that's kind of like the whole kind of, he's very shy, he's very timid. He does say some crazy shit, but he just goes on these tangents, and they fucking just sit and listen to them. So it wasn't as exciting and as kind of flamboyant as I would have liked. But nevertheless, as I was listening to Dugin, he kind of definitely reminded me of somebody.
We should rediscover European logos, a kind of the axis of our spiritual tradition.
Now, motherfucker, that's right. Now, Dugin is the shitty Russian Peterson, the Slavic dark professor, because a lot of his themes and a lot of the shit he talks about, these kind of concerns, are very similar to Peterson's. He doesn't have the same appeal in Russia. In fact, hardly anybody in Russia gives a shit about him. But the thing is that, there is kind of a similar kind of simmering existential crisis and a kind of a thirst for those logos. I always thought, why are they fucking talking, why are these motherfuckers, Peterson and this guy, why are they talking about fucking Legos all the time? Are they fucking retarded? But then I googled it, dude, and turns out that logos are different from Legos. Like, Legos are just the foundations for little plastic shits we play with while our parents sneak away and awkwardly have sex. Whereas logos, dude, are just the foundation for everything, man. Where is the logos? Exactly, dude. We gotta connect with the logos. So that's the angle, like, like Peterson from another dimension, like Russia. It's kind of European, but not quite Europe, just that shit. And it creates a different dimension, a different Twilight Zone. And the fucking beard of Aleksandr Dugin fucking emerges out of it and echoes Peterson, but not quite. It's almost like they themselves are a manifestation of that old archetype, the wise old man. Well, anyway, so that's the interesting aspect about it. But before we leap into that fucking excitement, let me tell you a little bit about Aleksandr Dugin, alright? Now, most of my subscribers happen to be depraved, sick fucks, just disgusting human beings. And every once in a while I hear about their habits. And like one subscriber told me, and it kind of reflects many of them, is that he says after he's done with a session on Pornhub, what he does is he does kind of a ball dance, and it's just he just kind of hits his balls against the keyboard and sees what it comes up on a Google search, and that's how he kind of enlightens himself, and he considers this to be destiny. So I don't know if you're into that sick shit, but if you kind of was like stroking your balls across the keyboards of your laptop, and all of a sudden randomly the name kind of Aleksandr Dugin came up, then you would see some retarded shit come up in the search engines. And of course by this I mean the idea that Aleksandr Dugin is fucking Putin's brain, or that he is the philosopher, Putin's philosopher or some shit. You know, just the Kremlin's Rasputin. You know, if you go on Vladimir Putin's Twitter account and you write there, you know, give Crimea back to Ukraine or some shit. Now, Putin is gonna give as much about the shit that you wrote as he does about the opinions of fucking Aleksandr Dugin. Let me fucking explain to you who Dugin is. Now, if you're trying to run an autocracy, but at the same time create an illusion of democracy, or at least some pluralism, how do you organize your television? Well, you don't create some sort of a replica of North Korea or the Soviet Union. That's just fucking boring. Nobody wants to watch that shit. Even like pro-Putin babushkas don't want to watch that shit. So what you create instead is constant analysis, constant discussions, and constant sense of disagreement that effectively always goes into the exact same stream of supporting the government. So basically, if I was a pundit on Russian television, I would never praise Putin directly, or do it very seldomly. I would, you know, instead I would just kind of disagree with somebody maybe, but then I would just kind of pedal toward Putin through another route, basically. I would just, it's like groping the elephant, you know, in that old kind of Indian sayings, how the different wise men, you know, would grope the elephant, touch the elephant from different directions, and it would get different things. Well, in this case, it's like there is a wisdom of Putin, and there are different people kind of touching and describing different aspects of it. So you have like communists, you have people like Soviet sympathizers, you have nationalists, you even have a few liberals who come on there and criticize the government, but they're just the token liberals. But in all, it creates a sense of clamor and discussion. But it sort of all serves to reinforce the government in indirect ways. And that's exactly what fucking Dugin is. That's exactly what he is. He's just one of those whores, one of these kind of pundits who outline Putin's validation, his legitimacy, basically, by just kind of propping him up from the nationalistic kind of pseudo-imperial level. And but that doesn't fucking mean that Putin gives a shit about any of them. You know, his real brain is stored somewhere in Lubyanka, in the KGB building. Like, that's where his brain is. It's not with these fucking bullshit philosophers and different fantasists and Soviet retreads. It's just not there, my dude. In fact, Russian nationalists view him as a cuck because he works with the government, and Putin has cracked down on all kind of nationalist organizations that are not aligned with the state. And he, of course, remains basically loyal to the state. And as such, kind of a lot of hardcore Russian nationalists, people who believe in an ethno-state, etc., they think of him as a cuck. And yet, for some reason, he has become this edgelord in some English-speaking countries, in some English-speaking kind of fucking media outlets. He's just, ooh, he's Putin's brain. He's just so fucking radical, this fucking Dugin. You know, but really he's not much, and he doesn't have a huge following in Russia whatsoever.
So, Mr. Dugin, what would you say are the most important questions or challenges that are facing the millennial generation today, particularly within the Western world?
I think that we're living in the most important time of all humanity. So that is the chance, privilege, but at the same time that is the risk, because precisely now the destiny of mankind is somehow put under question.
Now, my dudes, is the pressure coming from our alienation from one another, the fact that we hardly ever interact with other people in any meaningful way, and the loss of community? Or, man, is there a possibility that we're going to be destroyed by robots?
Millennials could be the last human generation, represent the kind of the last man and last women. The second wave of replacement will be replacement of the immigrants by the robots. Mechanical destiny, because the destiny of civilization will pass slowly. So the next type of being.
Well, our problems are much greater than I could have imagined.
I couldn't have imagined. I thought we were just going to talk about the raping Arabs in Sweden, but now we're talking about robots. Oh, Professor Dugin. Okay, my dudes, well, you know, what if it turns out, man, that the reason that Trump won the election is because Hillary Clinton is a robot?
The other part, the other half, is preparing to be transformed in something different, some post-human beings, because the image, the very image of Hillary Clinton was a kind of post-human horizon, I would say. So that was an anthropological battle, and American people, American human being have won.
Hillary, you sneaky bitch, you tried to conceal the fact that you're a cyborg. We know you're a robot, Hillary. We know you only have 3 horrible facial expressions. You fucking need to go back to Japan to be reconfigured before we're gonna vote for your ass. You're just open up on new horizons of horrible. New fucking horizons of horrible pantsuits in the future. That's not the humanity that I want. You don't care about Ohio. You're a robot. You don't care about black people. You're a robot. You don't care about nothing. You're a robot. You have no emotions, Hillary. Shame on you. Now, where's Professor Dugin gonna take us next? This is just a man who, well, it's just thinks outside of the box. Professor Dugin does. Now, is it possible, my dudes? Now, is it conceivable that he's actually gonna lecture Lauren Southern right now about the wrongs of racism? Is this where this is going, man? Well, let's see.
And we should overcome the limitations. For example, xenophobia, racism, on any kind of hierarchy between the people. There is not such kind. There are differences. And we need to insist on these differences without creating a hierarchy. We should not repeat the errors of the past.
All right, well, this is Dugin for you. The thing about him is that he wants Russia to be the leader of Eurasia. And as we know, Eurasia is not just populated by white people. And he's kind of a multicultural imperialist, sort of like Putin. In Putin, a lot of negative things about Islam are suppressed. Anything that could cause ethnic conflict or conflict between Russians and different Muslim ethnicities, it's suppressed. They believe in a kind of imperial multiculturalism, Dugin does. So that's where this is coming from. He's not a fascist in a classical kind of definition, or at least in the definition that people associated within the West. He believes in a state as a kind of a bastion of culture, but it doesn't have to be monoculture, and it doesn't have to be an ethno-state. He's against the ethno-state. Dugin is. He's kind of believes in fucking traditionalism and the state as the fortress of traditionalism, and tradition and the striving for something higher, a collective striving for something higher, a meaning through a collective striving, is something that he places above individual rights.
Because there are some versions of feminism I like. Standpoint feminism, for example, that affirms that there is no hierarchy between men and women, but there is two universes, two perspectives, so completely different universes. They could overlap, but they still they still have totally different structures. Standpoint feminism that doesn't consider that women should be equal with men, but women should stay women in their own worlds.
Standpoint feminism, my dudes. A feminism so awesome, you only hear about it in Russia. Hey baby, I see a place for you to stand over there. Standpoint feminism, baby. I think you missed a spot on the carpet right there. Standpoint feminism, my dude. Never feel that you can't tell a woman not where to stand.
And trying to defend its structure, confronting with too aggressive, thinkers, patriarchy, because there are spiritual patriarchy of knights, of nobles, of spiritual thinkers, and there is very low patriarchy that is not spiritual, it's aggressive, with no culture. So I'd rather stay on the side of women fighting for their beautiful universe against this low machismo.
Hey, show me your tits, my dude. You gotta settle down, man. This is not the kind of patriarchy we want. This is crude. This is fucking crude, shitty machismo, man. Fucking take it to the fucking garbage pail. This shit machismo, man. Listen, you have to, for the patriarchy to continue, man, you have to be like a spiritual knight. You know, you can't just be a neckbeard fucking patriarch. You have to be a fucking full beard patriarch, motherfucker. You gotta grow out your beard and be a patriarch. Motherfucker, mount the horse, man. Become a spiritual knight, and not in Warcraft or anything like that. Just find a horse and be a fucking spiritual knight. It's just, you see cars everywhere. Do you see a dude and a horse, you know, being a spiritual knight, enforcing patriarchy? You know, bitches are gonna go for that. It's high status, but it's also unique. It's something you don't see every day. Motherfucking standpoint feminism, my dude. Represent. Now we're actually approaching the one and only interesting part of this interview. And let me remind you, I did cut out a lot. I just saved the gems for you about, you know, spiritual knights and shit like that, and how racism is wrong. The important lessons from Professor Dugin. But now we're gonna move on to the one actual substantive and interesting thing. And that is his critique of liberalism. And not leftism or social justice warriors, but actual classical liberalism.
Liberalism, as ideology, as philosophy, insists that there is only one identity, individual. That is the origin of all other. If there is only one identity, individual identity, and there is no collective identity, so, or if there is, it should be overcome or destroyed. That is the main principle of liberalism. So we have no reason to oppose immigration, because they are individuals exactly as ourselves. And ethnical, cultural, religious identity, national identity as well, is collective identity. So destroying this collective identity, they make automatically welcome the other that destroy or dissolve, I would say, our societies. So without winning over liberalism metaphysically, we could not have tool, political or social or juridical tool to stop that or to control immigration. The idea is that to be woman or to be man, that is collective identity. So, and we should make gender optional in order to reinforce, empower individual identity, to destroy collective identity. So, immigration and LGBT gender politics are two sides of the same liberal principles.
So I haven't really lived in Russia for a long time, but my general impression of Russians is that they are very individualistic in their private lives. I mean, you see how these people drive, motherfucker. There's like a whole fucking Black Panther sequence there, put out every day through Russian dash cams, etc. On the other hand, they're very collectivist when it comes to politics, and they easily unite, behind a government that promotes these national unity themes. And that's kind of has been the historical curse of Russia now for a very long time. And he's basically articulating the nature of this curse and articulating it pretty well intricately, and basically endorsing it. So I just bring this up to say that yes, of course I am completely committed to classical liberal ideals and individual over collective. Nevertheless, he has outlined a key issue for our age, and that is the limits, something that I've discussed before, the limits of post-World War II liberalism, the expansion of liberal rights and liberal understandings, and how far this ideology can go. And I think that one of the intersections, one of the crucial clashes here happen around immigration, because the kind of liberal, the leftist idea today is that immigrants are in no profound way different from the host country, and the only inequality that can arise potentially between the immigrants and the native population is solely due to discrimination on behalf of majority. In other words, immigration cannot possibly fail without racism. And the question is, well, is this true? Are all these countries capable of absorbing immigrants? And the other aspect of this is, of course, the striving of different people for a collective identity, the strength people have, the empowerment they experience from different identities. And those are, of course, range from the alt-right to American patriotism, which is not ethno-specific, to the rising nationalism in Europe today. So, it is something to grapple with, our natural inclination toward collectivism, and the fact that there has been an efficient and great ideology of liberalism that has ensured prosperity and freedom for much of the world. How do you reconcile the two? And does liberalism ever have to give in anything to collectivism? And I think that sometimes it does, but not in any fundamental ways. So for me, yes, on immigration, yes. I think that, I know I'm an immigrant, maybe I'm a hypocrite motherfucker, I would deport myself, but I already have the papers. And I think that listening to Dugin is a pretty good critic of classical liberalism. It is beneficial, my dudes, my ladies, my homies and my ninjas. It's something to think about, because a lot of the struggles or a lot of the political conflicts are based and surround this theme. So this is it. We have listened to Professor Dugin, and we have caught up with Lauren Southern. Go to her channel and check out her future Russian adventures. She's supposed to be showing a week of these fucking videos. Which Russian fucknut is she, gonna talk to next? Is she gonna explore further standpoint feminism? My ladies, watching this, standpoint feminism, come on, get with the program. We reject fucking machismo. We reject machismo on this channel. All of us are very fail sons on this channel, beta boys. We reject machismo. You know, just please, you know, have sex with us, I guess. I don't fucking know. My friends, this is going on too long. Alright, thank you for watching.
We don't really get to hear these arguments against individualism too much because both of our sides, liberals are like, be whatever gender you want, your individual identity is super important, and conservatives are like, individualism, you are your own person, everything based on merit, you make your own wealth and your own future. It's just all very individualist minded on the left and the right, whereas Dugin brought an entirely different perspective where he kind of crumbled away all of my 100% confirmation that individualism is the best and kind of put some cracks in it and was like, maybe your obsession with the individual is hurting your society as a whole and is what is causing for you to lose your identity overall and for causing that defense of identity and culture to be disintegrated. And wow.